From tariffs to the critical minerals list, shifting policies are creating fresh turmoil in the silver market. So what's fueling the volatility, and is the pressure here to stay? I'm Johanna Bota, and here to break it all down for us is Rhona O'Connell, Head of Market Analysis, EMEA and Asia. Welcome back, Rhona.
Lovely to be here as always, Johanna.
So, Rhona, there has been a lot of disruption in the silver market lately. And first, it was tied to tariffs, but now we have the critical minerals list. Playing a hand here. Can you explain how these two factors connect?
There is certainly an overlap. The critical minerals list is at the behest of the Commerce Department or the Commerce Secretary initially, and then ultimately the President has the power under executive action to do what comes naturally. But prior to that, we've got tariffs, and the problem with silver thus far is that there is only one tariff classification, which is on the annex to the relevant executive order, exempting. And this particular exemption is just ores and doré. And one of the problems that the market has been contending with over the past almost a year now is the extent to which other silver elements or derivatives will go onto the exemption list, if at all.
Right.
Which is why COMEX inventories were around about 9,500 tonnes at the end of last year. And to put that into context, mine production in any 1 year is about 27,000. So it's about 4 months worth of production.
Right.
By the time we got to the 1st of April, which was the day before what someone in the London Bullion Market Association conference a couple of weeks ago referred to as Obliteration Day.
That's a good name.
Yeah, got a laugh.
Appropriate.
Certainly got a laugh. They were standing around about 15,000 tonnes. So that's an increase of 6,000 tonnes in just 3 months, basically. That's a lot of shift in metal. And that was basically because risk managers wanted to get as much metal into the States as was feasible because they didn't want suddenly to be hit with tariffs.
Of course.
Now comes critical minerals, which is separate, but there is an overlap. The critical minerals is a list of initially minerals which were deemed to be seriously important to high-tech, military, or just general national security. Now supply chain considerations have entered into that.
Okay.
So the US Geological Survey suggested in its review, which came out in early August this year, that silver should be taken
Added,
on to
okay.
the list.
The list, yeah.
So the first started flying again because people weren't quite sure whether it was going to happen, and if it did, what would happen then. And it was indeed put on the list, as was copper, on the 6th of November this year. So now we're moving into phase 2.
Okay, I want to backtrack a little bit. Before Obliteration Day, you said that a lot of silver was flown into the US, so there was a little bit of stockpiling there going on. Did the inventories eventually start coming down?
You'd have thought so, wouldn't you? In fact, initially it was shipped.
Yeah.
It's only been recently that it's been flown because there's been a crisis in London. Generally speaking, gold is the only thing that's flown as a matter of course. But silver sort of tags along in the second class cabin, if you like.
Poor silver.
I know. You'd have thought the inventories would start coming down, but in fact they didn't. They continued to edge a little bit higher, and they actually peaked in late September. And the reason for the fact that they kept on going was because people were looking at the possibility of critical minerals, and no one was really prepared to let very much metal go. And there's a lot of metal sitting in the United States. If you look at freely available, open to anybody, Chicago Mercantile Exchange daily lists by warehouse or by the organisations that own or lease space in warehouses, you can see that the likes of Loomis and Brinks and Malka Amit and Morgan and HSBC, StoneX, there's quite a few of us. And those numbers are released every day. There isn't a historical series that I've been able to get my hands on, but I want to talk to the exchange to see if we can get something on subscription. But I've been monitoring. I took one at the end of September, and then I've just set up like a dual entry system. I've kept that original spreadsheet, and then every day, if I remember, I'll plug in the previous days so we can see what the changes have been.
Okay.
So some has been coming out. That rather than a beneficent view on keeping the market orderly. It's been much more commercial, in my cynical view, because when that metal went into the States and stayed there, coinciding also with a massive uptick in Indian demand post-harvest, and the fact for 1 week that the Chinese were on holiday and therefore their smelters weren't sending silver into the market, things became very, very tight in London. So in the end, it was financially a very good deal,
Right, of course.
to be selling your material in London at least $1 more than you were paying for it in the States. So some of that warehouse material has come out.
Okay, so you also said that in August it was recommended that silver go on the critical minerals list and that now it has been added. Now there is Section 232. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that says in regards to silver?
Right. Section 232 is all embracing. The act in question was 1962, the Trade Expansion Act, which apparently John Kennedy thought was one of the most important pieces of legislation he'd signed in. And what that does is to give the president executive power to proscribe or put tariffs, or not proscribe, that's wrong, to put tariffs or quotas onto minerals which could be deemed to be critical to the country's security as much as anything else.
Okay. And now silver is deemed one of those minerals.
It is. Electronics, solar, medical predominantly, and to a large extent autos as well, because there's an awful lot of tiny, weeny silver components that go into autos, but there's enough of them to make quite a difference per vehicle.
And when will we know when all of these items will be taxed?
That's an interesting question, isn't it? It's got an even more interesting answer. We don't.
Okay.
The way the system works is that the Commerce Department or the Commerce Secretary herself, can put up a request at any point. And obviously they have to validate it. There is then a period of 270 days for investigations to take place and for balanced judgments to be given as to whether it really does qualify or not. Let's say it does. The president then has a 90-day leeway in which he can decide in favour or against. So basically, if the worst comes to the worst, you're looking at 360 days, which is nigh on a year, from a request going through to a decision being taken. But what is also important about Section 232 is that it's not just the metal itself. It can be deemed to be any subcomponent, semi-manufacture, or indeed finished article which contains the metal.
Okay.
Now, presumably, there would have to be a supply chain track to see whether the silver that's in those pieces of kit have actually come from Mexico or Canada or Peru or wherever it might be.
Right.
Which is pretty much unworkable as far as I can make out, particularly if something's 3 or 4 years old. But we shall see. So for the time being, it's all up in the air in terms of what happens when and how.
Okay, so there is a lot of uncertainty still to come then. But right now, are the issues resolved with where silver stands?
Not really. You'd think so, post-tariff, and now that we've got a degree of clarity on critical minerals. But granted that when things were really tight in London a few weeks ago, they were for those reasons that I've just given about India, China. The London Bullion Market Association releases every month on the 5th working day thereof the amount of gold and the amount of silver that they have in London vaults.
Right.
Silver at the end of October amounted to just shy of 26,000 tonnes, which is pretty much a year's worth in terms of mine production.
But a lot of that is tied to...
Exactly, exchange-traded funds.
Right.
Now, I'd be perfectly frank, I don't know what percentage of the ETPs are backed by metal that's in London. I don't imagine it's all of it. But at last shout, the exchange-traded products, as recorded by Bloomberg, which may be low because Bloomberg numbers are certainly low when it comes to gold, so they're probably low with respect to silver as well. They're recording, as of this morning, something like 25,500 tonnes. Now, if all of that were vaulted in London, that means the free float for London silver is chicken feed. 1,000 tonnes.
Okay.
If you're lucky.
Okay. So lots of uncertainty ahead of us then.
So we're still in backwardation and it's probably not going to go away because we've now got the Indian wedding seasons upon us and they're important for silver demand as well.
Rhona, thank you so much as always for all your great insight and thank you for watching. For more financial content, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.